Bhagavad Gita, I think it's 7:14 verse. He says, those who come to me. But the same verse in Nectar of Devotion, he translates completely differently. He says, these are the words of Krishna. So Krishna says, the lowest class of my devotee are those who are suffering. So when you are suffering, that means you are on a very materialistic platform. So at least you can know it. Because when we don't know it, we tend to shift our responsibility to others. We say, I'm unhappy because of him. I'm unhappy because of that. I'm unhappy because of that. But when at least we accept it, we say, okay, I'm lowest grade, this is why I'm unhappy. At that moment, Krishna can lift up this conditioning. It's very interesting. And then the second, then he said, the second class of my devotees are those who desire success. So to desire success is better than to suffer. It's a higher grade. So when we see somebody even going for something, you know, like I want this, I want that, but he's in Krishna consciousness, he wants to receive it from Krishna, we shouldn't criticize. We say, wow, he has seen that Krishna as a meaning of his success. Like one of the standard prayers in Islam is, oh Allah, please forgive me my mistakes, my wrongdoings, and convert inauspiciousness into auspiciousness. So this way you learn to know that for Krishna it's not difficult to convert inauspiciousness into auspiciousness. And of course, by thinking of Krishna, you also get purified. It doesn't mean that you continue making sin. No, but you also don't have to suffer. So that is bona fide prayer. Bona fide prayer. So the third class of devotee are those who are curious, inquisitive. So first one are suffering, higher grade want success, and then those who are inquisitive. Inquisitive means that their motive is more pure. They have less fear, they're not very much eager after money or sex or whatever, fame, power. And then the highest of them are those who are transcendentalists. Krishna says, from four kinds of people who practice Krishna consciousness, Jnani is the most dear to me. He say, if you are Jnani means you are transcendentalist. You have the purest motive. And if you practice devotional service, you'll come to me very quickly. So we should not criticize Jnanis too. Because often when we go to some yoga retreats and try to preach there, we notice that people there are very pure often. They're like very selfless, very like, they're still Mayavadis, but they're very selfless. They often are very pure, not eating meat, taking drugs, alcohol, etc., etc. They're inquisitive. They have like a lot of good qualities. Just little switch, they become the best of devotees. So for us, we can find ourselves in belonging to one of these four groups, and practice accordingly. Practice accordingly. So it is said about punya bhumi. So if there is a certain practice in the place, then the land becomes very prosperous. Last year, for myself, I have seen so many signs of impiety all over the world. Like this whole coronavirus thing was a sign of impiety. Then, for example, in Kazakhstan, the whole summer we had no rains. No rains. The whole summer. And plus 50, for 2 months, plus 50 in the shade. Like the camels were falling dead. Like, it was impossible to live. Like trees, like old big trees were cracking from the heat. And at the same time, all this water fell on Europe. And you had too much of water. I mean, Krishna is not happy. Or like yesterday there were trains not going because of the wind. And they say this storm already 3 days. These are the reaction to our sinful activities. So we actually have no time. We need to propagate, to say people, at least you don't believe in God, but just see, these kinds of things make you unhappy. The earth can stop giving any fruit. It can become very bad in a very short time. And you will not do anything with all your science. No, you will be helpless. But we don't want it, right? We don't want. So if somebody trusts a little bit of this in the beginning information, then later they can get their heart open to accept Krishna consciousness as a positive science. And something positive I wanted to add. So in the middle of this drought, like no water and this heat, and the congregational chanting was also forbidden because of the corona measurements, we still organized illegally kirtan. So we organized kirtan, devotees came together and we sang for 3 hours. Very powerful kirtan, very good kirtan is powerful kirtan. When we finished, huge rain came out of nowhere. Bah! And I said, come on, it's working. The government should invite the holy people, not just for the matter of ritual, but sincere chanting. Makes Krishna happy and he responds. Then we went to other city, from Almaty to Taldykurgan, and devotees were very enthused there. They have no temple, but they decided to have 2 programs every day. So we had Mangalarati, full morning program, and in the evening also program with Kirtan and with Gita. And we did it day by day for 7 days. The last day, suddenly again, the rain came by night. And when I went away, devotees were calling and they said, 7 days we had rain every night. It's working. This kind of yagya is working. And the last thing I wanted to say about this Avesha principle, that Avesha means not only that we receive from Krishna directly. Avesha is everything that we receive and everything that we give. For example, our life is mostly conditioned by what our fathers, which consciousness of fathers and mothers, at the moment of conception. It's maybe 95% of our destiny. 3-4% is the way we are brought up. 1-2% is all efforts of all our life. You can see, look at ourselves, how much we carry from consciousness of our parents. So the idea of Krishna consciousness is that we learn to discriminate what really brings the happiness, real happiness. And we put it into consciousness of our children. And this way great personalities will appear, like Bharat, and make everyone happy. When a great personality appears, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the signs that everybody wants him to be a leader. People just want, please be our leader. They feel from inside that it will benefit everyone. And we need such people. We're in badly need. Okay, maybe somebody wants to add something or some questions.
How can people, or how can I find out what's my determination, what's my service for Krishna in this life?
Your service for Krishna in your life. So you have 2 kinds of services. One kind of service is your worldly service. So you need to engage your nature to your capacity. There is like certain sequence of realization. First we understand Krishna consciousness. And then Varna, it opens to us. We know how to apply ourselves in a practical way. After we know our Varna, we become successful. the ashram opens up. So it is interesting that we step into any ashram on the basis of Krishna consciousness realization and on the basis of our action in the society. When the person is in Krishna consciousness but he doesn't know his practical application, he is called Chandala. This is the lowest grade of a human. So everything below Chandala is not really a human. Those people who do forbidden sex, or meat eaters, etc., etc. So Chandala is still a human level, and it can be Vaishnava level. So if we don't know our material nature completely in this lifetime, we don't worry, and we do just what we can, and we continue spiritual practice. We become Vaishnavas. But if you practice, your nature will be manifested to you. You'll say, when I do this, I'm really happy. And second, when you do something, people say, oh please, nobody can do this just like you. So it will manifest as your service. It's very important that we find our service, and second, that we believe in it. Because if we don't have enough trust with our service, we cannot properly perform it. We'll be like shaking a little bit. When you do something with resolution, the result will come out of doubt. You just need resolution and goal. You choose some goal and you apply. We don't expect too much enjoyment from our service, because otherwise we shall be in illusion. For example, when I was young, I dreamt to become a musician. I thought, you just play music, such a happy occupation, and then you just maintain yourself. And I thought also musicians are some kind of elite people. But then when I associated with musicians, I found out they're not elite at all. They're just like low class people, behaving out of culture, out of any way, doing whatever they like, just very low grade. And secondly, then also musicians, for example, are classified as Shudras at their best. And when I started to be a musician and I played, I understood what means Shudra. For example, you have to play for 3 hours and people dance. After 10 minutes you realize it's not for your pleasure. So we don't expect much enjoyment there, but we know that I can give there something. So it becomes your service, it becomes yagya. Yagya means to give something valuable. You give your time, your efforts, you don't expect anything back. That is yagya. And just think, don't be afraid to think high. You can think, what can I do, what would I like to do, without expecting anything back. It will become clear to you one moment. And if you don't know, you just continue doing something and you will become very good in it. It will become precious to you because you invested so much love and service into it. And people shall appreciate it. Just like Krishna consciousness, in the beginning we do everything ritualistically, but later we discover the true meaning in our heart. We discover true meaning of what's going on, and we enjoy it so much. We say, "Oh, Krishna, it's you." If we don't enjoy it, that means my mind is somewhere else. I have maybe to do something else. Not everyone will become lifelong pujari. Not everyone. Maybe you're a good cook, maybe you're engineer, or maybe you're a construction worker. Any service is nice. I don't know, is it okay?
Yes, super.
Thank you very much. Grantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Prabhupada ki, Itai Gaura Premanand. Hari Hari Bol. see here this microphone. Should we do something with this? Maybe. Is it needed? Maybe for internet transmission?
Запись.
Запись.
Yeah. Yeah, just
Four. You can stay here, right?
well, you can pin it on you. It's probably better.
What's it?
Sorry.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam
Narayanam Namaskrityam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam
Devi Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udiraye
Tato Jayam Udiraye
Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya
Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki
Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pango Karoti Vachalam Pangor Langate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande
Patamaham Vande
Shri Guru Dina Taranam
Tarinam
Нamo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Mati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavati Pashatyadesh Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Mati Chitanya Chandra Charan Prabhu Nitinamine Hare Krishna. You chant very beautifully. When you chant together, the vibration is very beautiful. And I'm also very surprised how beautiful is your temple. When you spend time constantly staying in this place, the sense of difference may go away. But when you come from outside, you immediately feel how much had been prayed here, how much had been served, and it's a wonderful service. Actually, the sense of service is not a cheap thing to obtain. Is it okay that I speak in English? Right? The sense of doing the service is not a cheap thing to obtain. For example, we read about different yagyas that brahmanas were performing. And we know that the third initiation, or the third birth, happens when the person gives up his life completely to serve the Lord. That is called the third initiation. So if we read the Krishna book, not immediately, few days after the brahmanas had been married to their wives, they started a fire. And this fire they were maintaining for the whole life. So that means not that we just occasionally perform some little service. The standard was lifelong time of performing yagya. When you have to maintain one fire in one place, you cannot go away, and you stay in that place. We read that the sages of Naimisharanya had came together to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. It is interesting that before they listened to Srimad Bhagavatam, they listened to Mahabharata. So Sutta Goswami, he has spoken Mahabharata the way he had heard it from Vaima, I forgot the name. You remember from he heard the Bhagavatam? No. Bhagavatam he heard, and Mahabharata he heard from Vaima. I'll tell you later. So that was reciting of this beautiful poem written by Vyasadeva. And just before that, they accomplished 12 years of performing certain sacrifice before reciting Mahabharata. 12 years. And it's actually, can you imagine that they listened to many things, because Mahabharata was not the only thing that they listened to. How bad their desperation became when they said, finally, we need to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Sutta, please tell us about the Lord. We heard about everything. Please tell us now about the Lord, because everything else was useless. It's not that it was useless, but it was a great need of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the 5th canto. There's characteristics description of Rishabhadev.
Prabhu, we also have the custom to read something before Bhagavad.
Yes, I want to.
The translated.
Okay, thank you for saying. Is there a specific place, yes?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you for guiding me. So, I'm reading from this place marked here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada was pleased to receive a letter from Egypt today. Prituputra Swami is attempting to introduce Krishna consciousness to the Islamic countries and wrote from Cairo. Enclosing a new article, he reported that despite difficulties, particularly from the government, he was still finding some success. I'm contacting very interesting people, and there is very good possibilities to do something. I'm now giving some private programs and studying the best way to spread the chanting of the holy name. By Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, I got a few encouraging success, which are inspiring me to push forward. This article in a student's newspaper is very good publicity for us. So I'm carefully analyzing the possibilities to establish a center in Cairo, and I will present to your divine grace the results of my investigations in order to receive your advice. How much we should read from that? Just even this little fragment, the disciple reporting to Srila Prabhupada about the progress of preaching, is very important. You can see how much he values every smallest success. Every smallest success. He says, we're going to have an article. It is going difficult, but still I see the goal, I see the objective. We're going to have a center here. So that was his objective. And preaching in countries with a particular tradition is already difficult by itself, because people may oppose it based on some national values or cultural values. There was a story about preaching in Japan. Have you heard about it? The story. when nobody wanted to go to Japan to preach. And because I think it was almost death sentence, some very, very strict penalty in Japan for preaching foreign religions. So nobody wanted to go. And Srila Prabhupada, during the morning class, after the morning class, he asked, who wants to go to Japan to preach? And nobody raised a hand. Srila Prabhupada said, second time, who wants to go to preach to Japan? Nobody raised a hand. And then third time Srila Prabhupada said, who will go to Japan and establish a temple there? I personally will take him to the spiritual world. And there was one devotee who considered himself hopeless. He was homosexual, he had homosexual inclinations, he had difficulties with sadhana, he said, I have no chances. And when he heard that Srila Prabhupada will personally take him to spiritual world, he raised his hand. So he went to Japan, and he spent many years there actually. And he fulfilled his promise. He really established their temple. And it happened that after practicing for some time and being active in movement, he went a little bit aside. He didn't practice actively, he married, moved back to the States. And one day in the morning, some people come to the temple. Some people come to the temple and not devotees, and they see Srila Prabhupada Murti, big Murti of Srila Prabhupada, and they say, who is this man? Who is this man? They said, this is Srila Prabhupada, but why are you asking? They said, he had been this morning, it was already 80s, so after the death of Srila Prabhupada. He had been this morning to our house. So this devotee had left the body. And the same morning, Srila Prabhupada was, they just have seen him, he manifested himself. They have seen him coming to their place, knocking on the door, ringing on the bell. So he came personally to take this devotee back to spiritual world. It's not a cheap thing, eh? It's not a cheap thing. And actually, these people in Germany, in Belgium, in every country, in Kazakhstan, they are desperate to hear about Krishna. And if we give Krishna not as a religious idea, but we explain that Krishna is person of God. You can call him different names, but you need personal relationship with him. And when we explain our situation in this material world, people are eager to hear about it. Like yesterday, I was lost 3 times during my way to the airport. I managed to lose myself a few times. And then I didn't know what to do. I started to look at the people. There was some tall German boy, and I thought, oh, he gonna help me. So I came to him and asked him, please help me. I know that I need to get back to the Hare Krishna center, temple, but I don't know which station I need to get to. And he said, what do you need? And then he started to look on the phones. He never heard Hare Krishna in his life. So I said, Hare Krishna. And he said, no, how? And how do you type it? So we typed it. So he first time in his life typed Hare Krishna, and then he discovered it was a temple, and then we found the address, we took the same train, and then he was very happy. He was explaining me how to get there. I was very happy. And then I said, please come to the temple. I said, oh, yes, maybe, yes, possibly. So people never heard about Krishna, so many of them. And if we present it in a very sympathetic way, people will be happy. Sometimes by practicing we read about some esoteric things, when people see something or feel something. and we even can have projection of that on us. We can think, oh, maybe I also feel something. This world is this or that. But in fact, we're most comfortable in the position of a human now, without pretending to be something else. And this position of human also nobody can take away. Why, for example, Narottama Das Thakur, he's writing time after time, I'm falling, I'm falling, I'm falling. We're falling in this human form of body. Comparing to spiritual life forms, this material form, even human form of body, is still quite a fallen position. We don't see ourselves as the soul. We have some theoretical knowledge. We have some idea, some emotion by the time we develop. But still we're here, in these walls, in these streets, in these cities. We have to maintain this body. And if we lose this touch of humanity, then it's difficult to reach out to other people. But because everybody expects to be touched as a human, right? Like when I come to Köln temple and people see that I'm in anxiety, devotees see I'm in anxiety, and they ask me, how can I help you? Where I have to go? Where do you come from? What is your name? I'm so much touched. This is what we need. When I was lost on the way to airport, some woman, she even asked me, oh, the train is not coming, you're gonna come late, you need to take taxi. Don't you have money? So she was ready to offer me money for taxi. I didn't go away, I stayed with her. Finally the train came. And I understood she has opened her heart for me. She gonna listen about Krishna. So we were talking, and she was listening, asking questions. So we need to do. And today, Prabhu, you have read the report of Sankirtan from yesterday, and it was inspiring also. Because most of the time I spent in Gauradesh temple, and our temple is in the middle of nowhere. It's like no people around. We're in the mountains, and we have agreement that we don't go to preach and sing Harinam in the cities nearby. We have to go a little bit further, not to disturb our neighbors. And this sense of distributing books gradually can be forgotten. But I thought today, oh, maybe I should come out today and also try to speak to the people in the station, in the train station, to bring some books in different languages and talk to them. Thank you very much. It's very inspiring. And in Kazakhstan, at one moment, devotees had reached out to manage to preach even to the daughter of our president, former president. His junior daughter, Aliya, she accepted Krishna consciousness. She started to chant. A few years ago, she was chanting 6 rounds a day. She was accepting regulative principles, and she was harassing Senate and Parliament by her preaching because she was daughter of president. She had access. So, and then such things had happened that, for example, on some days the police was stopping the cars and distributing the lectures of Audarya Dham about like something with the mode of goodness, about relationships. So anything is possible. I mean, it was like something fantastic. We could not believe what police does do. They distribute the lectures of my Guru Maharaj. They distribute the lectures of Audarya Dham, Oleg Gennadievich Tarsunov. So it was like miracle. So we can try Bhagavatam, yeah? You have the verses. Yesham khalu mahayogi Bharato Jeshta Shreshta Guna Asit Yenedam varsham bharatam iti vyapadishanti. I don't know exactly the verse, the metric structure. There are 29 poetic structures, different types in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is why it's a little bit more complicated. In Bhagavad Gita we have just 2. So Krishna was merciful to us. I'll try to read more nicely. Yesham khalu mahayogi bharato jeshta shreshta guna asityenedam varsham bharatam iti vyapadishanti. Maybe somebody, if you know how to read it better, you can try. Otherwise, we continue with word by word. Yesham, of whom? Khalu, indeed. Mahayogi, very highly exalted devotee of the Lord. Bharata, Jeshta, the eldest. Shreshta Guna, qualified with the best attributes. Asit, was. Yena, by whom? Idam, this. Varsham, planet. Bharatam, Bharata. Iti, thus. Vyapadishanti, people call. Thank you very much. The translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sometimes there are different styles of lecturing possible. I prefer to have open structure. So at any moment you can raise your hand and say your commentary of your deliberation or maybe argument. And you don't have to wait for too long. So please don't hesitate to participate actively. Of Rishabhadeva's 100 sons, the eldest, named Bharata, was a great exalted devotee qualified with the best attributes. In his honor, this planet has become known as Bharata Varsha. Well, let's read one time together, right? Of Rishabhadeva's 100 sons, the eldest, named Bharata, was a great exalted devotee qualified with the best attributes. In his honor, the planet has become known as Bharata Varsha. Thank you very much. So we shall read now about a historical event. The appearance of the person who was so brilliant, such a brilliant person that the whole planet was called after him. It's a historical event. I was actually surprised to discover that in India people call themselves not Indians, but they call themselves Bharata. So, and for me it was one more proof that this is all historical descriptions. It was not just some story invented by someone, what they say now, myth. Actually, the term myth is understood now a little bit in the wrong way. Today people understand myth as some fairy tale, some fable, right? They say, oh, this is a myth. But if you look in the philosophical, the definition of the word myth, Myth is something that describes the picture of creation, existence, and of this world as a whole. So the myth, philosophically, is the word that says this is the picture, collective picture of this existence for the people. So it has nothing to do with concoction or some cheap story. The purport. This planet is known as Bharatavarsha, is also called Punya Bhumi, the pious land. At the present moment, Bharata Bhumi or Bharatavarsha is a small piece of land extending from the Himalaya mountains to Cape Comorin. Sometimes this peninsula is called Punya Bhumi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given special importance to the people of this land. Bharata Bhumi Tehela Manushya Janma Jara Janma Shatakakari Karpara Upakara. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatavarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 9:41. The inhabitants of this piece of land are very fortunate. They can purify their existence by accepting this Krishna Consciousness movement and go outside Bharata Bhumi, India, and preach this cult to benefit the whole world. So here are many topics at the same time. I'll speak something, and please, if you find something interesting, also add. It is interesting that the person is offered to make his life successful, to achieve success on his own. So we are not teaching others something that we cannot do. There are different ways of preaching, and there are different ways of listening. Lord Shiva says that there are 8 kinds of listeners and readers of Srimad Bhagavatam, according to the qualities. And Lord Shiva says that if they do not belong to the same category, so from the hearing and listening shall be no benefit derived. So it's very important that people are on the same line. ISKCON is united by what Srila Prabhupada gave to us as a foundation. And for example, this is why we are advised not to promote belonging to different gurus too much. So first of all, we say we are Srila Prabhupada movement and we are Srila Prabhupada disciples. Otherwise, by the lack of understanding, people may split in different groups. And now this planet is divided in so many countries. The ancestor of Bharata, the ancestors of Rishabhade, of Priyavrata, was the first who started to divide this universe in different sections. You remember that, yes? And the reason for that was that the people could not live, people of different natures could not live with each other peacefully. So the Lord, it was Priyavrata, yes? So Priyavrata, he had taken a trip around the universe and he had divided it into different sections with different oceans. You remember, yes? This was ocean of milk, ocean of yogurt, ocean of salty water, of sweet water, etc. I don't remember how many, 8 or 9 kinds of ocean. There was ocean of sugar cane juice. There was ocean of alcohol, of wine. So they're all existing, eh? They're all existing. So that was the beginning. And now people are divided again. People are divided again. Yesterday, before going to sleep, I have checked the news because something dramatic is going on in Ukraine. And I've seen that everybody is in shock again, like what is happening, like people will need again time to accept what has happened. They always say, what is going on is unacceptable. But then some time will pass and you accept it. In this way, we now accept that people have separated so far. Once I was reading the biography of one writer, I think it was Zweig, Stefan Zweig, and that after the beginning of domination of fascists in Europe, he became very desperate and he immigrated with his wife and they committed suicide in Brazil. But the first thing that, the first change that has happened in Europe in 20th years, Germany introduced passports, international passports. Before it did not exist. You just travel. You just travel as you are. You don't need any visa, you don't need any passport. It didn't exist. Now it's difficult to imagine. Can you imagine now we say, let's have no passports anymore, let's have no visa. People will object. So many things that we live with and we think they're like imminent, they're necessary, they just appeared in the process. They're just recent, new. And the same way the demoniac civilization has prevailed now is also very new, very new. So if we present Vedic culture as attractive way of living, it should be very attractive. People will take it. People will take it and they will even forget that it had been differently before. Can you believe in it? For example, I'll give you an example. I was talking to one devotee and asked him, are your children practicing Krishna consciousness? He said, my son, no, he does not. And then I asked him, is he married? He said, no. Does he have a girlfriend? No. I said, why? And then this devotee said, because my son told me, no, we're Krishna conscious, we cannot have girlfriends. So for him it's just very natural. He is born into it. He is born and for him it's natural to maintain purity. So if we introduce it, people will become attracted. Like in Gauradesh, I spent so many years, and then and going away, often I forgot something there. Once I forgot their laptop in the hotel, just in the corridor. I put it under the chair and went away. I forgot this laptop and came back in half year. This laptop was still under chair. Hare Krishna. There are some things done to this laptop. For example, somebody had dusted it, dusted, so took away dust. Somebody had installed antivirus. Somebody had to put their desktop with Radha Krishna. But nobody did delete anything. Nobody has stolen it. And when I came, one devotee confessed. He said, after so many months, I thought maybe I should take this computer. Nobody needs it. This is the culture. Things do not disappear. Like in many Muslim countries, there is no such a thing as a stealing. No such a thing. They have no statistics of killing. Just nobody kills nobody. Isn't it beautiful? It's very beautiful. So this is the God consciousness. The perspective is bigger than just me now. The perspective is that I live with God. And I'm constantly on trial. Constantly. I love to draw the parallels with other traditions, because in Kazakhstan we preaching in the multicultural atmosphere. And it's actually by the law is forbidden to preach, because you may offend people of different belief. So when you want to preach Krishna consciousness in Kazakhstan, you give examples from Quran. When you preach to Christians, you give examples from Bible. And it's a perfect Krishna consciousness. It's perfect Krishna consciousness. I can give you examples. I started to see these things after studying of books of Srila Prabhupada. You remember the story? Is good? You remember the story of how? You remember such a person? Her name was Elizabeth in Bible, in New Testament, and her husband was Zachariah. And they didn't have children, and they were becoming old. They became really old. And this Zachariah, he was a priest in the Jewish tradition. And when he was going to perform his duties as pujari, he was going away from home for some time. So he was maintaining celibacy. You can see it from the book. And then when he was offering dupa as incense, other people were not allowed to be in the temple, so he was doing it alone. And then, during offering this dupa, suddenly angel appeared to him, and Zachariah became afraid. He said, "I don't know who are you. Are you demoniac manifestation or godly? I cannot say the difference." And he said, the angel answered to him, "Indeed you cannot. But as a proof, I'll take away your ability of speech and I'll give you prophecy. And you'll be able to speak again only when the prophecy is fulfilled." So he said, "You go home and your wife become pregnant and you'll have a very saintly child. And he will be very dear soul to God. And very wonderful about this child will be that he will never drink alcohol in his life." So you see, this kind of purity is a blessing from birth. If we're not given it, we're tortured by that later. There is a principle of, this word avesha. Avesha means that something is given to us. What is the difference between avesha avatars and Vishnu avatars, for example? Difference we can illustrate on example of Vyasadev. When Shiva was asked who knows Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, "I know Srimad Bhagavatam." Shuka knows Srimad Bhagavatam. Vyasa, sometimes he knows Srimad Bhagavatam, sometimes he doesn't. That means avesha. That means that we know something, or we can, when Krishna allows us. He empowers us or takes us away. So this is very, very nice thing to know. Because when you are given something, you must use it. If you have talent, if you have ability, if you have intelligence, idea, you have to do it. And you have to do it for Krishna, you have to become successful. This is what here it is said in Vedic Shastra. You become successful, you become happy. So, if you don't, you'll be punished. If you don't, you will be punished. Like in Islam, it's in Quran, it's written so clearly. And now we think that I just spoil my chances, but it is not like that. The talent means responsibility. In Quran it is said that when somebody is not busy with his predestination, with what he has to do, then Allah turns away from him. And then in other place it is said that when a person does even for 1 minute something that he is not supposed to do, for example, he goes away from his path, at that minute Allah is turning his back to him. Why? Because by turning back to our own self, we're turning our back to Allah. We're turning back to Krishna. And we don't see him. So it is very important to with strong resolution, accept, I have this talent, I have this dream, I have this desire, and go for that. Like when we speak about the desires, sometimes we can get the idea that desire is bad. But actually the desire is essence of life. We as eternal spiritual beings, our essence of our consciousness is the desire. The desire directed towards the material energy is misleading. But if desire is going with Krishna, no problem. The moment when we accept that I can do this for Krishna, I'm giving this talent from Krishna, it becomes pure. It becomes pure. So this saintly son of Zachariah and Elizabeth was to be born, and then he became Johannes the Doper, the Johannes the Baptist, who predicted the comes of Jesus. And when Jesus came, Johannes sent his disciples to him to ask, are you Jesus or not? Are you the Messiah or not? You remember what Jesus answered? It was a very interesting answer. He didn't answer about himself. He said, go to your master and tell him that the smallest person from the spiritual world, he is not worthy of to lace his shoes. So when we talk to Christians, when we talk to Muslims, to any person, we can explain that holiness has different grades. So Johannes is great biblical prophet and saint, but he was not qualified to go to spiritual world. It's in Bible. More than that, most of the biblical prophets are after leaving the body, they went to the hell, to the hellish planets. Have you read about it? First I read about it in the Divine Comedy of Dante Alighieri, and I became a little bit perplexed. I said, wow, it's strange. When Dante went to the first circle of the hell, he met there, for example, the King David. He met there Solomon. And many great souls and saints were there. And later in Bible I found the place where it was written that all these prophets, they went to hell. They didn't go back to Godhead. They went back to Godhead only after Jesus personally came down and liberated them. So Dante, for example, explains like that without Diksha from the pure devotee, nobody is able to go anywhere from here. Nobody. So the meaning of Diksha is very straight. Very straight. Diksha means that some devotee, pure devotee, accepts you as continuation of his service. For example, when you receive Harinam, that means your chanting is accepted by your guru as his own chanting. As his own chanting is accepted by Srila Prabhupada, as his own chanting accepted, etc., back to Krishna. So your service, even we have no qualification, becomes pure devotional service. And this is the secret. With our own power, we cannot do much. But by just doing this pure devotional service, even in unaware stage, because we don't see it as pure devotional service. We first trust, but later it manifests. You see how beautiful devotees become after years of practicing it. They become not from this world. This is proof. Just look around. These devotees are not from this world. Ordinary people cannot imagine living like this. They cannot imagine. Like in Quran, there is, not in Quran, in the book of Muhammad al-Ghazali, there are grades of those who wake up. He said the awakened souls, they wake up at midnight. They don't go to sleep. They glorify the Lord the whole night. And there are grades, and say, for example, somebody who wakes up at 6 and prays. He prays only about being released from the sins. Somebody who wakes up at 7, he wakes up like dead. I mean, he doesn't even wake up, consider. So every hour has his own potency and his own blessings. Most of the people today, they wake up late. They don't wash themselves. They have no idea what means bliss. When we, if you have you ever read the Dante's Alighieri Divine Comedy? There are 3 parts in that. One is called hell, one is called purgatory, place where you get purified, and one place is called the heaven. So in English it's called like that. So the bliss Dante experiences for the first time when he enters the spiritual world. So bliss is dimension of spiritual world, and devotees experiencing this already now. So other people cannot see it. They may not see it. They can say, "Oh, you have no money, you have no big success, no big car, etc., etc." But if they come, suddenly they experience this bliss, even in reflected form, and they become injected, and they come. It is also not true that devotees are always, I wanted to say differently, I would say differently. Depending on the quality of our practice, different kind of people will be attracted to us. Like in one city in Kazakhstan, in Shymkent, devotees are very, very sober, very serious, and very magnanimous. They're giving away a lot. And what do you think? The head of their yatra is somebody who is director of the oil factory, oil company. So, for example, when he goes to India, he buys tickets for all yatra and they go. So, when they need something, he says, "Oh, okay, we just buy." There is never question of money. Then he lost his position. Immediately, Krishna gave another opulent devotee, and she gave huge building in the middle of the city, and said, "Okay, this is going to be a temple. This is going to be that. What do you need?" So, depending of quality of our practice, we attract the people. If, for example, our practice is a little bit fanatical, we shall attract a lot of crazy people. If our practice is intelligent, sober, we will attract intelligent, sober people, even successful, rich. It's not our goal to attract rich people, but they will be naturally attracted. Because I met a lot of very rich people in my life, and I noticed that they have qualities. They're not just rich. They have really qualities. For example, I noticed that they never speak badly about anyone. I spoke with some of them for a few hours, never a bad word about anyone, anything. Not a bad word. And we are offered also to follow this practice. You remember when we chanting the offenses of the holy name? The first offense is to blaspheme. And actually, the Vaishnava Aparatha. This Vaishnava Aparadha has a 6th level inside itself. You know, yeah, about them. Aparadha means that action that goes against the principle of love, against Srimati Radharani, Aparadha. So, if you commit Aparadha, that leaves you without her mercy. And the worst grade of Vaishnava Aparadha is to kill Vaishnava. So, when we walk around Tulasi, we say, oh, if I killed in my past lifetimes, maybe somebody, please forgive me. We don't realize it sometimes. We live now, but if we committed some bad crimes in the past, they still like press on us. They don't allow us to feel this bliss sometimes, or to see things clearly. So the worst grade of Vaishnava Aparadha is to kill Vaishnava, so we don't kill. Second, and also the meat eating is also connected to that. We just don't kill because this is Aparadha. It goes against the principles of love. Second Aparadha, second grade is to speak badly, to blaspheme. This is what we offer to meditate. Don't speak badly, don't speak badly. It's also very, very nice principle. If you don't speak badly, you might become very rich. And Vacho Vegan, the first grade of self-control, is controlling our speech. The third grade of Vaishnava Aparadha is to get angry. Oh, no, I'm sorry, before getting angry, not to greet a Vaishnava. So you can see even when devotees are angry with someone or have a quarrel or whatever, they always offer obeisances. Anyway, they see each other, they say Hare Krishna. So when somebody does not do it, just remember this person is committing aparadha and he's in danger. He's in danger of feeling very unhappy inside. So I'm not, I remind again, first is not to kill, second not to talk badly, not to blaspheme, third is always to offer your respect, to greet, don't turn your back. The fourth is to get angry. You see how more subtle and subtle and subtle it goes. Not to get angry. We naturally get angry with others because we are conditioned. Not getting angry is a transcendental level. So when we see each other as a pure souls, we say, I have this appearance and this conditioning, and that person same. But both of us were pure souls of Krishna, and we don't get angry. We just say, this is a conditioning and that person cannot do better than he does. And that is also true. Nobody can do better than he does. If we do better, that means again, principle of avesha. Krishna gives us different Shakti. He changes our karma. He says, okay, let's move on. So again, not to kill, not to blaspheme, always offer your respect, and not to get angry. And fifth, not to get joyful while meeting Vaishnava. That is already a symptom. When you're not getting joyful by meeting others, when you're not getting joy by meeting anyone, that means something is very wrong inside your heart. You cannot command yourself become joyful, but you can inspect the previous levels. Have you done something wrong there? And if not, gradually you will become happy by seeing a bird, by seeing a tree, meeting each other. You're just gonna cry in the morning. Oh, you're gonna embrace each other. And you're going to feel so happy. So that is the fifth level of seeing that Radha is not there. I'm not getting happy when I see someone. It's beautiful, huh? So if we read the description of the saints, they're constantly in bliss because they see anyone and they're happy naturally. They don't have to pretend. They just feel this ecstasy. And everyone is loving them. We read that the Vaishnavas are the shelters for both suras and asuras. So Vaishnava means you don't discriminate in the way you are demons, you are against us, and you are our friend. This is not Vaishnava way. It's still conditioned. So we rise above that. Like Rupa Sanatana Goswami, 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, they described as friends to everyone. Adhira, everybody loved them because they were there. So the 6th level of seeing that you are in the wrong, on the wrong track in Vaishnava Aparadha, the most subtle, thinking badly about someone. That is very subtle. We permit ourselves to think badly about someone only for one reason. Bhakti Swami was writing about it. He said the only reason we permit ourselves to think badly about someone is idea that that person is not Vaishnava. We think he is not Vaishnava, and we start thinking bad about him. Because when we think about anyone, he is a servant of the Lord. He is standing in this shop, he serves the Lord in this way. He is walking on the street, she is walking on the street, she is serving the Lord in his way. Then we don't commit any bad thinking about anyone. And we can manage to see when it starts and at least to be aware. I'm thinking badly, this is against the principle of love and happiness. This destroys my bliss. Thinking is still on the mental platform. So it's more or less artificial, superficial. So that means when we reach to the level of our heart, when we manage just to trust this world as a full manifestation of Krishna, we can stop thinking badly about things. And then we're more happy. We're more happy. So this is why it is said, first you make your own life successful, you make yourself happy. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, in 7th chapter, he gives 4 types of devotees. He says there are 4 types of devotees. For the same verse, there are 2 translations, 2 different translations. Srila Prabhupada gives one in